What's up, guys? It is me, ABC, back with the HPP, Adam Benjamin Coleman, here at the Human Performance Project. Have not done a video in a long time, and figured this was probably a good time to do one. And as far as the topic today, I don't really know that there is going to be one. Um, my channel in my life has been in a huge place of transition and complete restoration, I guess, from the ground up. And the destruction of what I had is completely my doing. And I choose to believe that the restoration up to this point has been totally the work of what I call God, and my ability to take the proper steps to get back to inching closer to where I want to be and where I deserve to be on a daily basis. So those of you that don't know me really well, I am in addiction recovery from alcohol and drugs, and I went through a 6-month stint in the Salvation Army and am now in one of their aftercare houses, a sober living house in Bakersfield, California. And this channel is still going to be devoted to fitness and human performance, but it's also going to be in part dedicated to the performance of the mind and the spirit of human beings, and those things have to be in place before physiological and athletic performance will ever be at their optimum. If you don't have a driving force that's greater than the sum of the decisions that you make for yourself, eventually you're going to come to something that's bigger than you are, and it's going to keep you from moving forward. And without anything to rely on and fall back on, you're pretty much doomed to failure. As humans, we like to think that we're self-sufficient, we can figure it out, that we're smart, and that logic is the answer to all of our problems. And logic and intelligence are great things, but again, those things are God-given, in my opinion. If you don't like the topic of God or the Word of God, I'm not that sorry about it. Call it a power greater than yourself. I don't really care what you choose it to be. It's something of your understanding that you depend on or believe in, or call out to, that is going to give you the strength, the answers, the wisdom, to march through what you need to march through in tough times, because we all have them and we're all going through one right now. It's I don't know what official day of this quarantine our society is on. I work in a grocery store, so my job is still deemed essential, right? And I get to go to work, which is a blessing. My schedule changes a lot. I don't like that. I am a control freak. I don't like not being in control. I don't like not knowing when I'm going to work, how long I'm going to work, and how I'm going to be able to set up my day afterwards. Because I am still on a quest to be the biggest and strongest human being that I possibly can be. That means that I have things that I must do, right? I must eat, I must sleep, I must train. And those are things that I get to do today. And my biggest struggle lately has been prioritizing and remembering that acceptance is going to be the answer to all my problems today. And just because my work schedule changes, which then changes my training schedule, which then changes my meal schedule, etc., that is not that big of a deal. And I have two choices: either do the best with what I have available to me, which is still a day full of blessings, the ability to be of service, the ability to go to work, and not just work to earn a paycheck, work to help people in my community, because everybody's got to eat, everybody's got to get the essential things that they need for their homes. And without places like grocery stores, that doesn't exist. And so I feel that my purpose, even though it's not a glamorous job per se, it's much bigger than me, and it's much bigger than just earning a paycheck and going to work right now. And that's something that I have to keep in mind and remember, that instead of bitching about what I can't do today because of this or that or the other thing, I have to remember that I do have the ability and the option to do the very best that I can do at anything and everything that is still within my control of the time spectrum of the day. So, that being said, if my workout has to change, if my eating has to change, if my sleep schedule has to change, the blessing is that I still have the ability to make those adaptations. I have the knowledge to change the steps, the meals, the protocol, whatever it is, to ultimately still benefit me. And I'm very black and white in my thinking. I think that if I don't get to do things the way that I want to do them or think that I want to do them, that I'm not going to make any progress. And that's just not true. Um, there's always a way to get 1% better in some way every day, and whether that is instead of going to the gym to do strength training, you work on your flexibility, whether that's spending some time in quiet to read and increase your mental capacity and your spirituality, whether that is having the blessing of staying at home with your kids and your loved ones and expanding on relationships that you may or may not have been neglecting. Um, those things are all at your disposal, and they're all things that you can do to better yourself holistically. Um, as I stated earlier, that the Human Performance Project is not it's not just going to cover one facet of being bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter. It's going to cover them all, and it's going to cover them as it pertains to me. Not because I'm super awesome and think that everyone should do it my way, but because all I really have to share is my experience and what has worked for me and what has not worked for me. And lately, I've been having a hard time mentally with getting a grip on the fact that there are certain things that I'm not in control of, and that's okay. It has to be okay. You have two options: either kick, fight, scream, and be miserable, or accept it, make the best of it, and keep moving forward. And people who are successful, people who are champions in life, they make adaptations. People who are soft, weak, never going to live up to their full potential because they're scared to, are going to make excuses. You know what I mean? And those are the choices that we have on a daily basis. And I don't mean that to sound super harsh. I'm not trying to sit here and be a motivational speaker or some holier than thou person. Like I've already said, I struggle a great deal. I know that I'm not alone, and all I can hope for is that me opening up a forum and a line of communication to the mass public might encourage someone else to share their experience, their strength, and what has provided them hope for going forward in the future. Um, so, that all being said, I would love, as always, to get some responses or hear how this quarantine has been affecting you, has been affecting your family, whether it be positive, whether it be negative, and not just create a session for bitch gripes and complaining. That's okay. You can talk about what's on your mind, but where I want to try to stay with this channel and in my mind is, what am I going to do about it? What is my solution going to be? What can I do to change these things that I find unacceptable? And having that desire and that drive to make those changes is key. What is also key is understanding that even though I encourage chasing your dream, whatever that dream might be, right? You should never stop chasing your dream and doing what you feel in your heart you want to do and were meant to do, because if you do, what's the point of living? If you're just settling. But we also have to understand, and I say we, as human beings, have to understand that our dreams, our goals may not go exactly the way that we thought that they would. And again, that ties back into being able and willing mentally to accept that and to still make the best out of the situation. Okay? So, for an example, if you want to be the fastest human being on the planet, that's a pretty big goal, right? And I'm not telling you not to, but I'm telling you that if you don't achieve that, it's not necessarily a failure. Are you the fastest human being that you can be? Have you done what is necessary of you every day to lay your head down on the pillow and say, I emptied my tank today. I did everything I needed to do and then some, and I got a little bit better. And if we can all do that in every area of our lives, um, we're going to grow and we're going to get better and we're going to get stronger collectively. And, during times like this, I think it's very important to maintain contact with people. I think it's very important that even though we're encouraged to practice social distancing, um, that we don't practice emotional distancing, right? And I have a very hard time not interchanging those two things. I didn't realize how important to me um, human communication and interaction really were until some of it was taken away. And I also didn't realize how interchangeably my mind uses that absence as an excuse to go inside myself and to really start to internalize and demonize and get negative and let my priorities and perspective shift from seeing things as opportunities to seeing things as obligations. And when you do that, life gets harder, you know. When you realize that you wake up in the morning and there are things that you may not necessarily want to do, but that need to be done in order for you to be successful and to give back to the river of life and take care of the people you love and those around you. Yeah, there are things you have to do, but at the same time, there are also things that you get to do. I don't know about you guys, but I have been at places in my life where nobody wanted a fucking thing from me. I didn't have anything to offer anyone. I didn't have my word. I didn't have accountability. I didn't have um, anything, you know. And even things that I did know and felt that I had, nobody wanted because I was missing other key elements and I wasn't living it. I wasn't being good to myself. I wasn't following what I was preaching and truly believed in my heart. And today, that's not necessarily the case. There are people that count on me. There are people that genuinely care about me. Um, and there are people that will call me on my bullshit. And that's pretty important. You know, I've realized that my best friends today are not the ones that are going to sit there and tell me, oh, good job, Adam, you're doing fine, when I'm not. My best friends are the ones that are going to tell me, dude, you're being an idiot. And that's the problem. And that's necessary for me because I'm selfish and self-centered. You know, I'm self-seeking. I want what Adam wants. And what Adam wants is very rarely the right thing. It's very rarely beneficial to anyone other than myself. And very rarely, truly, if I examine it, is it even beneficial to myself, truly. Um, the only way that I found to truly be beneficial to myself is to be beneficial to other people, right? And there again is the reason why I'm putting this channel back on. I want to be of service, and during this time, there are not a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess outlets for me to do that. Being somewhat sequestered, not being able to uh, do the things that I normally do, count on doing, and that are important to me in the way that I'm used to doing them. Um, when I say that, I'm talking about 12-step meetings, fellowshipping. You know, I can't go do those things in person, but there are still applications that allow me to do them online. There are still telephones that work that I can pick up and call and hear someone's voice and let them hear mine. There are still pens and paper that exist, believe it or not, and the U.S. mail does still run. You can write letters. There are things that, you know, we just bypass um, as far as avenues to communicate and to express ourselves that we just don't utilize for whatever reason. You know, um, my main reason I found is because I sometimes get really comfortable in self-pity. You know, sometimes I just want to feel sorry for myself and blame everything and everyone else. And that's a dangerous place to be. You know, I have to take responsibility for my actions, my choices. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'll be where I am tomorrow. And that's both a good and a bad thing. You know, the choices that I make today are going to directly affect where my life goes tomorrow and in the future. And the choices that I continually make throughout the rest of my lifetime will be my legacy. You know, they'll be what people talk about when I'm 6 feet under and I'm worm food. And all I really want is for people to be able to stand at my funeral and say he was a decent guy and he tried to help other people. And that's not something I hope for anytime soon. You know, I'd like to live to 100 at least, because assholes never die, and I'll probably be around for a while. But having that attitude and doing those things and realizing what those things are and doing them on a daily basis, whether I want to or not, is mandatory for me. Mandatory for me. And if they're not done, nothing else will fall into place. So yes, I love weight training. Yes, I love cooking and eating. Yes, I love bodybuilding. I love several different sports. I love talking about human physiology, supplements, nutrition, all that stuff. But all of those things are only applicable to their fullest extent and will only come to their fullest fruition if I'm in the right state of mind to use them properly. They're gifts that I've been given. They're gifts that I've been able to learn about, that if I don't exercise them and pass them on to the rest of the world, I'm not serving my purpose, right? So, that all being said, you know, I want you to think today what you can do to give to someone else. You know, seek to listen instead of be heard, to love instead of be loved, to comfort instead of be comforted. And yes, that is, you know, a bastardization of the St. Francis prayer, for those of you who know it, but it reigns true. And so, like I said, I would love to hear from you via email, via comment on this video. You know, please like and subscribe to this channel, not because I need the validation, but because I think it could be a mushroom cloud effect that could positively influence a lot of people, and I hope that you want to be a part of it as much as I do. So, for today, be the best human being you can be. Take care of yourself, because you can't give away something you don't already have. Look for ways to grow. Look for ways to make adaptations, not excuses. Until next time, take care. Live life to the fullest.